Hello and welcome to the Evening News for today, Wednesday, August 6, 2014. I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for joining us. In the headlines, UG's bookbinder dies after running into forklift. Glenn Lal and Kaicho News slapped with another $30 million lawsuit for libel and misinformation. PPPC signals preparedness for early poll as government commences discussion on a no-confidence vote. Rodney Inquiry Commission adjourns to give crime chief more time to study police files. Snap elections likely by January 2015. Suba's house scorched after being China bombed. Now for the news in detail. The immediate family of a senior bookbinder attached to the University of Guyana has been plunged into a state of grief after receiving news of the man's demise this morning following an accident at the corners of Lamaha and Delft Avenue in Campbellville. Bisham Mohammed reports.
51-year-old Alachman Sugdiovlot, 63 Station Street, Kitty, Georgetown, was killed after he allegedly collided with a forklift that was carrying steel plates belonging to Krong Mining. The accident occurred about 8 hours 30. The Evening News was told that Sugdi, who has been employed with the University of Guyana for the past 35 years, was on his way to work when the accident occurred. Information about the circumstances surrounding the accident remains sketchy, but from all reports, the man died while receiving medical attention at the Dr. Balwant Singh Hospital. In a telephone conversation, Sugdio's wife, Monica, said that her husband left for work as normal on his motorcycle about 8 hours 15, and after a few minutes, the family received news that he was involved in an accident.
I don't know, he just left, forgot to walk. He's working at the University of Guyana.
She said that from all information gathered, she was under the impression that he had received injuries, but after reaching the scene, she realized the seriousness. Meanwhile, at the Dr. Balwant Singh Hospital, staff members of the University of Guyana were in tears as they comforted each other. They all expressed their sadness and reflected on their time spent with the man.
Is that he suffered a wound on the neck, and the vehicle and the persons on the vehicle left him on the road to bleed because he was bleeding. If they had probably taken some action then, it might have been saved his life. So by the time he was taken and brought to the hospital, it was almost too late. He just wasn't able to survive.
How would you best remember your colleague? How you worked at the university?
Matter of fact, you see, good people are the ones you don't find very often. I've had a good relationship with Fred. And it's indeed a shock to me that
I always go for a word of advice. Being the person of the union, you might feel some way hard done by the institution, and still when you go to Fred, he would tell you something that will make you laugh and forget that you're being hard done. There's a type of man. I mean, I've worked with him for 25 years, and I could tell you the person that he be. I know the university is going to last. A very good, valuable worker.
He's a valuable worker because we have known he recently placed 3 other persons to understudy his skill, knowing that he's advancing in age and we need to have some continuity when he retires, right? And it's 35 years of service we're talking about, so it's a great loss to us.
The man leaves to mourn his wife and 2 children. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal has filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the Kaicho News for publishing an article which claims that one of his vehicles was used to terrorize staff from the newspaper agency. Let's find out more in this report.
Attorney General and Legal Affairs Minister Anil Nandlal has slapped the publisher Glenn Lal and Chief Editor Adam Harris with a $30 million lawsuit for publishing what he called an untrue and malicious article. The minister is referring to the July 31st article published on the front page of the Kaicho News, captioned, "Men in Anil Nandlal's vehicle terrorized Kaicho News staff." According to the minister, the said headline and article conveyed the clear impression that the plaintiff was engaged in unlawful and criminal acts and that he is unfit to hold the offices of Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs and a Member of Parliament. Nandlal said in the court document seen by the Evening News that the libel caused him great public embarrassment and further held him up to odium and ridicule, as well as disparaged him as the AG, Legal Affairs Minister and an MP, both nationally and internationally. The Legal Affairs Minister is asking the defendants for an excess of $10 million for the libel in the headline of the article, another $10 million for the contents of the article, and finally $10 million more for aggravated and exemplary damages. For the Evening News, Jalicia Pinder.
In the courts, Orange Jarek was today remanded to prison after he appeared before Magistrate Judy Latzman to answer to the charge of murder. Jarek is accused of stabbing 31-year-old Gavin Fifi to death last Thursday at the Plaisance minibus park after Fifi upbraided him about urinating on his minibus. After running for several days, the man turned himself in while in the company of his lawyer. The facts of the case were read by Prosecutor Joel Ricknott. Attorney at law Pamela DeSantis claims that the client is severely wounded and will be providing witnesses for his case. The magistrate requested to see the injuries that should be of the VC. His hand was bandaged and was removed. He was nonetheless remanded until August 22. The police have intensified their investigations into an incident which saw a missile being thrown at the home of Georgetown acting town clerk, as we hear in this Shania Singh report.
The premises of acting town clerk Carl Suba came under attack from unknown individuals in the wee hours of Wednesday morning. The Evening News understands that the individuals hurled what appears to be a Molotov cocktail. The incident occurred around 1:30 this morning. This newscast understands that Suba became aware of the incident when security ranks stationed at her home raised an alarm.
Something was slammed at my house and then crashed like broken glasses, and then the place light up. There are 2 ranks on my residence. They called out and they screamed, "Fire, fire!" And then after a couple of minutes I asked if the house is on fire. They said no. Someone threw China bomb, and the China bomb scorched the building over the windows, and it broke some windows from the guard hut, and the pipe caught the fire. The National Police was called and the bomb squad. They were there and they investigated and took exhibits and so on.
Police are conducting investigations into the incident and are currently collecting statements from persons in the area. Suba had filed several complaints that she was receiving threatening phone calls and death threats. She had also publicly raised concern over the posture of some senior functionaries at City Hall, including the mayor, who opposed her appointment as town clerk. Shania Singh for the Evening News.
High Court Judge Justice Brassington Reynolds today set aside his ruling on the quo warranto filed against the acting town clerk Carl Suba's appointment. According to the judge, in order to deliver a fair ruling, he will stay his decision on the quo warranto filed by PRO of the Mayor and City Council Royston King. Justice Reynolds made the interim ruling in the interest of justice, stating that he will deliver his decision until the appeals files regarding this issue are determined. King had filed a legal action on May 13. However, at the same time, both him and Suba sought the appeal court to reverse the decision of the acting Chief Justice Ian Chang, which allows Suba to act as town clerk. The quo warranto was granted in late May by Justice Diana Insinali, and arguments were heard by attorneys representing both parties. King was represented by attorney Nigel Hughes, while Suba was being represented by attorney Roysdale Ford. If you have any news tip or news story you would like our news team to follow, message us or WhatsApp our telephone number 680-9630. You can also call us at our office in 231-0382 or 226-2102, 223-7230 or 223-7231. Stay tuned, more news ahead. Welcome back. This is the Evening News on TVG. Meanwhile, police say they're yet to arrest the man who was responsible for the death of 23-year-old Kester Anderson. The 23-year-old man was doused with gasoline and lit a fire on August 3, but succumbed to his injuries yesterday. The act occurred at Barakat Bagdam in the Mazuruni. Snap elections are becoming a distinct possibility as the main opposition, a Partnership for National Unity, says that it will support the no-confidence motion piloted by the Alliance for Change. Let's find out more in this report.
A Partnership for National Unity says that it has begun party discussions for impending general elections. Elections are likely to be held in Guyana by January 2015, as the APNU has indicated its support for the no-confidence motion by the Alliance for Change. If the motion is successfully tabled in the National Assembly, President Donald Ramotar will have to dissolve Parliament and set an election date.
What we saw was the resolve clause. So we have not seen the full motion. In other words, there were no whereas clauses and so on. But we have supported the general resolution.
Yes.
The resolve clause. And that's what we are going to support when it comes to the House, which we anticipate will be at a very early sitting in October.
He said it is very unlikely that the motion could be debated before the National Assembly goes into recess on August 10 of this year. Additionally, Rupturain said the party believes that the decision to support the motion was the right step at the correct time given the feeling and mood of the population.
We believe that there is, a feeling among the population that this is the correct step at the present time.
Was it also premised on the finance minister's actions?
Well, we have taken specific actions against that. We have taken the finance minister's privileges committee. We're going to the courts for a declaration on the constitutionality of the financial paper, and we are supporting the no confidence motion.
For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
Meanwhile, the Alliance for Change says that its proposed motion of no confidence against the government is one of the peaceful mechanisms for removing a legitimate government as it avoids the use of violence. More in this report.
While the Alliance for Change maintained that it has not seen any official correspondence from the Partnership for National Unity to support its motion of no confidence, the party says it welcomes such developments. Vice Chairman of the Alliance for Change, Moses Nagamutu, says that the motion must not be seen as, quote, an end game, end of quote, but rather as creating the platform for the people to give their leaders a new mandate. He said that it is especially important if the government continues to act outside of the Constitution.
If you didn't have a peaceful removal of a government, and the government has done sufficiently enough wrong things, then you may have a violent removal of a government. So this motion is trying to prevent a situation in Guyana that could bring great harm to all of our people.
Okay.
We will be prepared to deal with any consequences, and we are not scared of elections because we believe that it's a good thing.
Nagamutu opined that while the motion will create history and a revolution in the local political landscape in Guyana, it will lead to the peaceful removal of the ruling People's Progressive Party civic administration.
The no confidence motion is not an end game. It is intended to open doors and possibilities for the renewal of our political life and our political culture. And no party would claim that they are not either ready or prepared to go that route, because you're asking the people for a new mandate. It is not something that you're drinking castor oil, that you have, it's good for you, but you will shudder and feel that, wow, that's a bad taste. No, I think, confidence motion will have a good taste, a good smell for all the people. And so you have to embrace the natural consequences that flow from a no confidence motion. It's going to be historic, it's going to be revolutionary, and it's going to be an option that is constitutional.
Nagamutu explained too that the AFC is working with a schedule, and that schedule seeks to have the motion brought before the National Assembly before August 10. He opined that the clerk of the National Assembly was duly bound to pay due attention to the motion and ensure that it was placed on the notice paper.
The issue now is, yes, we have a draft. We provided a draft with Mr. Granger. We are hoping, we read in the paper that he made some response. We can't take what is in the paper.
Yeah.
It may or may not be true, but what we are waiting on, we request a meeting with the APNU on this issue. So we can only say why we have done what we did. We did all of these things to fit into a time frame of 10th of August.
Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Head of the President's Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon, says that if a motion of no confidence is introduced against the government, he expects it to be properly debated. More on this report.
Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon today said that the proposed vote of no confidence is just one of the challenges faced by modern People's Progressive Party civic government. Dr. Luncheon said that the government expects the motion to be introduced and given due considerations.
The no confidence motion is an example of the type of challenges that national governments face. And I'm saying that there are specific mechanisms that are captured in the law and in various authoritative sources, standing orders and such like, that would indeed dictate how these matters are dealt with. So you have a motion that is now supported by the two parliamentary parties. Our expectations essentially would be for the motion to be introduced, for the Speaker to rule.
According to Luncheon, note was taken of the proposed motion at yesterday's cabinet meeting, but it was not discussed. However, he said that when the cabinet meets next week, the issue will be on the agenda and will be discussed extensively.
So I'm saying, in essence, one has to delve into Constitution, standing orders, the law, agreements among the political parties on the way forward. I thought that was the content I provided to address that question. It's a matter of process, essentially.
Dr. Luncheon said too that while the option to call elections before the motion is passed in the National Assembly is open, it has not yet been given any consideration.
Well, I think you need to revert to Minister Rohi's and the President's remarks on the subject. They are matters of historical importance. I remember Minister Roy taking the first bash and pronouncing authoritatively the state of readiness of the governing party for elections, whether local government or general and regional elections.
The APNU made a decision to support the motion piloted by AFC at its shadow cabinet meeting on Tuesday. For the Evening News, Jalicia Pinder.
In this report, we'll hear now that the impending parliamentary recess is worrying the government as it directly affects the passage of several bills and motions in the National Assembly.
Head of the Presidential Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon, says that the upcoming break of the National Assembly will affect several bills. He said that those bills are currently before the House and will not be given due attention until Parliament returns from its recess. Parliament is expected to go into recess on August 10th and will return from the break on October 10th.
Importantly, telecommunications. Importantly, money laundering. It would be not wise for us to contemplate this hiatus from August the 10th to October the 10th without mentioning what these consequences what are obtained as a consequence.
Dr. Luncheon highlighted the reluctance of the opposition to pass the Customs Amendment Bill 2014. He said that the failure of the National Assembly to pass the bill leaves Guyana vulnerable to be the subject of lawsuits.
At that sitting in July, the parliamentary opposition parties, AFC and APNU, again made the decision, collective decision, not to support the enactment of the Customs Amended Bill. For your recollection, this bill sought to align Guyana's laws with our obligations under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas.
Shania Singh for the Evening News.
Meanwhile, Speaker of the National Assembly Raphael Trotman has ruled against the request to have Alliance for Change leader Kemraj Ramjatan and Executive Member Cathy Hughes committed to the Committee of Privileges over allegations of conflict of interest. Svetlana Marshall reports.
Speaker of the House, Raphael Trotman, on Tuesday ruled that prima facie cases have not been made out against the AFC members of Parliament. In July, government's Chief Whip, Gail Teixeira, asked that Kemraj Ramjatan and Cathy Hughes be referred to the Privileges Committee over failure to declare pecuniary interests in matters debated in the National Assembly. Teixeira said in 2013 Ramjatan voted against allocations for the specialty hospital, knowing that he was the attorney at law representing Federal Lloyd. Lloyd was among contractors that bid for the contract. Additionally, the proprietor of the Pegasus Hotel, Robert Badal, had publicly stated that he financed the AFC during the 2011 elections. According to the government, Badal's objection to the construction of the Marriott Hotel has been perpetuated through the AFC leader, resulting in him voting against the infrastructural project. The Speaker in his ruling said no supporting documents were provided, adding to that 1 year had elapsed before the complaint was filed. According to him, to delay a complaint that a member might have tarnished the image of the Assembly is also an infringement on the part of the complainant. He made it clear that there is no evidence implicating the AFC leader in the allegations leveled before the House. In the case of Hughes, Teixeira opined that she should have disclosed her pecuniary interest, in addition to that of her husband in the Amila Falls hydroelectric power project during the debate on the hydroelectric bills and the debt ceiling motions. But Trotman said it is no secret that Hughes was the public relations officer, pointing out that prior to the debates on the bill and the motion in 2013, she appeared frequently on television promoting the interests of Site Global Inc. and the Amila Falls hydropower project. Like in the case of Ramjatan, Trotman alluded to the period of time that elapsed before the complaint was filed. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
The government of Guyana has rejected yet another ruling made by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Raphael Trotman, on a matter which sought to implicate two leading Alliance for Change officials. Here's Svetlana Marshall with the details.
Government's Chief Whip Gail Teixeira is contending that the Speaker of the House, Raphael Trotman, has failed once again to be impartial in its rulings. But this, she says, comes as no surprise.
I'd like to quote Martin Carter, in that the mouth is muzzled by the hand that feeds it. And the Speaker is the Speaker for the opposition. At no point do I believe that we will be given such an opportunity under this Speaker to bring matter.
That was the government's Chief Whip addressing media operatives during a late-night press conference at the office of the President on Tuesday. In response to a request made by Teixeira, the Speaker had ruled that prima facie cases were not made out against leader of the Alliance for Change, Kemraj Ramjatan, and Executive Member Cathy Hughes. According to the Speaker, there is a lack of evidence, but the presidential advisor on governance said she begs to differ.
That's not required. That is absolutely not required. Mr. Greenwich did not provide any evidence to what he was saying. The normal practice, we write a letter to the Speaker indicating we have a desire or an interest in moving a Member of Parliament to the Privilege Committee. Normal procedures are that the Speaker then calls the MP in, that is me who wrote the letter, to discuss the issue. And then one provides a motion, because it is a motion that one drafts, based on that. I don't know I have to provide evidence to Mr. Trotman.
Another key factor that was taken into consideration before the ruling was made was the time span. According to the Speaker, a year had elapsed before the complaints were lodged, but this too was rebuffed.
There is no time limit on an issue to be brought to the Privilege Committee. So that's not an argument in terms of procedures in Parliament. If you've done something wrong and it comes to light many years later, or a pattern of behavior emerges and comes to light later, one has a right to raise it. So say, for example, you had a Member of Parliament who came to Parliament a little bit tipsy and it becomes a pattern of behavior that goes on over time, and then you realize the MP has an alcohol problem, you have a right to raise it. You're looking at a pattern of behavior. The fact that in the 2012, Mr. Ramjatan voted for the specialty hospital and then voted against it, and then voted against it again in the budget debate, which was just a few months ago. So we have a right to raise it. We're quite convinced that we're in order to raise it.
In July, Teixeira wrote the Speaker requesting that Ramjatan and youth be referred to the Committee of Privileges over matters of conflict of interest. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
$829,000 has been awarded to a bidder for the construction of glass-fused steel tanks at 3 different water treatment plants across the country. This is according to Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon, who said that the tanks will increase the capacity of the water treatment facilities at South Ramvelt, Eccles and Partica. More news still ahead. Stay tuned. This is the Evening News on TVC. Welcome back. This is the Evening News. Police say that about 16 hours on Tuesday, Roger King, aged 21, of Tabatinga, Letham, was driving a motorcycle at Letham when he collided with a motor car at an intersection. He was taken to the Letham Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. The driver of the motor car is in police custody assisting with investigations. The Health Ministry, in collaboration with the Guyana Help the Kids Foundation, today commissioned a neonatal intensive care unit at the West Demerara Regional Hospital. Svetlana Marshall was there and filed this report.
With financial support from the Keeson's Family of Canada, Guyana's 4th neonatal intensive care unit was commissioned at the West Demerara Regional Hospital. The highly technological unit has the capacity to facilitate 5 neonates at one given time. Health Minister Dr. Barry Ramsaran said neonatal deaths account for almost 50% of under 5 mortality in Guyana. However, he said with the operationalization of NICUs in Guyana, the figures can be reduced significantly. President of the Guyana Help the Kids Foundation, Dr. Narendra Singh, echoed similar sentiments.
One of the things that we recognized very quickly when we began to assess the data was that a large part of the under 5 mortality was because of neonatal deaths. And if we put effective processes in place to address the neonatal deaths, we can impact significantly the under 5 mortality. And as many of you know, one of the big Millennium Development Goals, number 4, is to decrease under 5 mortality. So we embarked on this project, as I said, in partnership with the healthcare sector in Guyana.
Dr. Singh said while emphasis has been placed on the establishment of NICUs in Guyana, its human capacity is also being built. He explained that the Canadian-based foundation has already put in place a pediatric residency program and a comprehensive neonatal nurses program.
To this end, we're proud to say that we've started our pediatric residency program a number of years ago, and it has already paid significant dividends. We've already graduated 2 pediatricians in Guyana for the very first time, and I'm proud to say that these are 2 of the best pediatricians we have in the country. I'm also proud to say we have 10 further pediatricians in training at the moment, and every year we plan to graduate between 2 and 4.
By 2017, the Guyana Help the Kids Foundation is hoping to have a well-developed neonatal network that could be handed over fully to the Ministry of Health. On Friday, another unit will be commissioned at the Soddy Hospital in Region 2. Meanwhile, the man Keesoon said he, along with his 6 siblings and mother, will continue to advance the development of the health sector in Guyana, with special emphasis on children. Since 2000, the Keesoon's family has been offering financial support to the government and non-governmental organizations. Svetlana Marshall reporting for the Evening News.
The residents of Lagrange and its surrounding areas can breathe a sigh of relief as Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon announced that a fire station will soon be constructed in the area. Dr. Luncheon said that Cabinet granted its no objection to the award of an $18.6 million contract to construct the fire station. Chairman of the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry, Sir Richard Cheltenham, today adjourned proceedings to allow Police Crime Chief Leslie James adequate time to peruse the evidence gathered by police during their 1980 investigation into the death of Dr. Walter Rodney. Here's Alexis Rodney with the details.
A Partnership for National Unity says that it has begun party discussions for impending general elections. Elections are likely to be held in Guyana by January 2015, as the APNU has indicated its support for the no-confidence motion by the Alliance for Change. If the motion is successfully tabled in a National Assembly, President Donald Ramotar will have to dissolve Parliament and set an election date.
What we saw was the resolve clause. So we have not seen the full motion. In other words, there were no whereas clauses and so on. But we have supported the general resolution.
Yes.
The resolve clause. And that's what we are going to support when it comes to the House, which we anticipate will be at a very early sitting in October.
He said it is very unlikely that the motion could be debated before the National Assembly goes into recess on August 10 of this year. Additionally, Rupturain said the party believes that the decision to support the motion was the right step at the correct time given the feeling and mood of the population.
We believe that there is, a feeling among the population that this is the correct step at the present time.
Was it also premised on the finance minister's actions?
Well, we have taken specific actions against that. We have taken the finance minister's privileges committee. We're going to the courts for a declaration on the constitutionality of the financial paper, and we are supporting the no confidence motion.
For the Evening News, Alexis Rodney.
Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon today revealed that a total of $792,929 has been approved for the procurement of books for the Education Ministry. The textbooks will be procured from 3 different publishers and will be for both secondary and primary schools. Luncheon also revealed that $18.8 million has also been awarded to a bidder to source interactive reading material, which will be mainly for nursery schools. If you have a news tip or news story you would like our news team to follow, message us or WhatsApp on telephone number 680-9630. You can also call our office and telephone numbers 231-0382, 226-2102, 223-7230 or 223-7231. Stay tuned, your regional, international and Brit reports are still ahead. Welcome back. This is the Evening News. In the region, the Grenadian government says it remains optimistic that an amicable solution will be found as it seeks to honor its debt with national and international creditors in the wake of a recent ruling by the United States court instructing Argentina to meet its financial obligations to its creditors. There have been suggestions that a decision by Argentina to default on its payment could also have an impact on Grenada, since both countries have the same creditors. Internationally, Israel has agreed to extend a 3-day ceasefire in Gaza, which began on Tuesday after nearly a month of conflict. There has been no comment yet from the militant Palestinian movement Hamas, which controls Gaza. Indirect talks between Palestinian factions and Israel have been taking place, mediated by Egypt. Gaza's health ministry lists 1,867 dead, mainly civilians. Some 64 Israeli soldiers and 3 civilians died. A Thai national in Israel was also killed. In case you've just joined us, you're watching the Evening News. Now for a look at your bridge reports. The Damlar Harbour Bridge is expected to be closed at 14 hours on Thursday, August 7, 2014 for a period of 1.5 hours, and the Berbice River Bridge is expected to be closed at 13 hours 25 on Thursday, August 7, 2014 for a period of 1.5 hours. Join us after the break for sports, sponsored by Marco. This is the Evening News. Welcome back now for a look at sport, but first the headlines. Warriors resume battle in Limacol CPL tomorrow. 2-2 for Guyana under-19 cricketers. Alpha United make losing start to CFU Club Championship, and Digicel aiming to improve football tournament in 2015. Of course, this podcast comes to the kind compliments of MacCorp.
We believe that everything worth building should be built just once. That is why we build on culture, on trust, on integrity. We exist to do more, better, faster, safer. Your success depends on the foundation it's built on. Everything we do is meant to move you forward. MacCorp, let's build Guyana together.
Welcome back. Now for the details. We start off with some cricket news. For a second day in succession, hosts Guyana relied on their spinners to complete yet another convincing victory in this year's West Indies Cricket Board's Regional 50-over tournament. The Guyanese whipped ICC Americas by 49 runs in their second round encounter at the Georgetown Cricket Club ground on Tuesday. Chasing 230 for victory, Guyana rotated their barrage of spinners to good effect in dismissing the visitors for 180, with 37 deliveries of their innings unused. The off-spinner Shiraz Ramcharan and leg spinner Stephen Sankar both claimed 3 wickets each. Earlier, Kimo Paul and Akshay Humrat stroked fluent half-centuries and piloted Guyana to a position of strength after they lost wickets at crucial intervals during the innings. The Guyanese boys will be back in action again tomorrow, this time against Trinidad and Tobago at the GCC ground border. With all to play for in the final leg of the Limacol Caribbean Premier League in St. Kitts, the Guyana Amazon Warriors will resume battle tomorrow against the Antigua Hawksbills in their penultimate game of the league phase. A win for the Dinesh Ramdin-led side will see them take sole possession of the number 3 spot on the points table. More on this report. Currently, the Amazon Warriors are locked with the Barbados Tridents on 8 points. Both teams have recorded 4 wins from 7 games, but the Tridents are ahead with a better net run rate. A victory for the Warriors would give them sole possession of the number 3 spot as the battle continues for the respective places among the top 4 qualifiers. Hawksbills and the Zouks have no chance of qualifying for the semi-final, having had a disastrous time in the tournament. The Hawksbills are the only side yet to record a win after 7 games, and judging from their performance all season, a victory against the Amazon Warriors might be asking too much of the Antigua-based franchise. The last time these two teams met, which was incidentally the opening match of the tournament, the Amazon Warriors won by 2 wickets with 3 balls remaining in a tight finish. In that game, the Hawksbills batted first and posted 136 for 8, with Ben Dunk scoring 38, Danza Hyatt 36, and James Neesham picking up 3 wickets. It took a responsible 50 from skipper Dinesh Ramdin and some late hitting from Sunil Narain and Veersamy Permaul to take the Warriors to victory at 140 for 8 in 19.3 overs. Close to a month after that game, the two teams find themselves on different courses, with the Warriors still in with a chance of copying the title, while the Hawksbills are playing merely for academic interest. The Warriors would no doubt hope that the mystery spinner Sunil Narain is back to full fitness after missing the last 3 games with a side strain. Action will bowl off at 16 hours at Warner Park in St. Kitts, signalling the first of 9 matches to be hosted on the island. Football news. Alpha United made a losing start in Group 5 action in the CONCACAF Champions League, going down by a solitary goal to Olympia at the Guyana National Stadium last evening. The local boys were made to suffer from an Albert Ellis goal as early as the 17th minute, as the visitors took a lead and never relinquished for the remaining 73 minutes. Alpha United did miss a few opportunities to equalise and will be hoping for an improved performance next Tuesday when they take on Portland Timbers of the USA at the Guyana National Stadium. Alpha United will have to also travel to play both Olympia and Portland Timbers in their homeland to complete the group. Buoyed by the successes of the first 4 editions, Digicel is aiming to improve on the 2015 schools football tournament. This is according to Chief Executive Officer of Digicel Guyana, Gregory Dean. The 4th edition of the country's premier schools football tournament concluded on Sunday night at the Guyana National Stadium, with Christianberg Wismar winning the title for the 3rd consecutive time, beating perennial rivals Warramadong Secondary for the 3rd year in succession. During its short existence, the tournament has been able to unearth talents from all conceivable points of Guyana, attracting over 120 schools each year.
This is something we noticed since the first year of the tournament, where we had stronger teams from outside of Georgetown. I know Marlon and the guys from with the Milo tournament were trying to improve the standard of the tournament in Georgetown. I think if we can see that in all the other regions where, you have tournaments or localized tournaments improving the standards in those areas, I think in the end you would see a better national tournament and also better players coming through the process as well.
Looking ahead to 2015, Dean said the company will be examining ways of improving the product, ultimately providing the big stage for the youngsters to showcase their talents, thereby giving the populace a glimpse into the future.
After today, we're going to sit down, take the review the tournament, look at the things that worked very well, look at the things that may not have worked so well, and look in terms of start planning for next year. But I think now it's probably too early to say these are definitely going to be the changes for next year. But definitely we're going to look at making changes next year and improve. It's all about improving the standard. When we started, we said we'd look at 10-year period, and that's the way we're still looking at it. That over a 10-year period, we expect to see the standard of the players in the school improving.
Since its inception in 2011, the tournament has grown considerably, attracting schools from far-flung areas of Guyana. For the first time this year, the final was staged at the Guyana National Stadium after the first 3 championship games were held at the Police Sports Club ground, Evelary. And finally in sport, Yunus Khan's 24th Test century gave Pakistan some level of control on the opening day of the first Test against Sri Lanka in Galle. Sri Lanka reduced the tourists to 56 for 3 in the first session before Yunus and skipper Misbah ul Haq added a century to revive the innings. After Misbah fell for 31, Asad Shafiq joined Yunus and the pair batted to safety, adding an unbroken 105. Yunus ended the day on 133, while Shafiq was unbeaten on 55 in a total of 261 for 4. Damika Prasad and Rangana Herat have so far picked up 2 wickets each. And with that, we've come to the end of sport, which is sponsored by Mark Warp. And that's a wrap as well on the evening news for today, Wednesday, August 6, 2014. Of course, you can find these and more stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And here's an invitation to join us on TVG Channel 28 and on Radio Guyana Inc. 89.3 in Essequibo, 89.5 in George and Environs, and 89.7 in Berbice and Unicary, Suriname. Of course, you can follow all the action in the Lime McCall Caribbean Premier League 2014 through all these mediums. On behalf of all of us here, I'm Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching.